The year was 2157. For 23 years, humans had been part of the Galactic Confederation. This group of 17 alien species had let humans join, but many looked down on them. Humans were new to space travel compared to the others. They had a problem too. All the alien species thought humans were too careful. They called them cowardly. Commander Allison Wright sat at the large round table in the Confederation Council Room. The walls were made of shining white stone that reached up to a clear dome ceiling. Through it, she could see 3 moons hanging in the purple sky of Rigel, Prime. The room buzzed with the sounds of 17 different species talking in their own languages, all translated by the small device in her ear. Allison tried to keep her face calm as Ambassador Vextara spoke. The blue-skinned alien was tall and thin with 4 arms and clicking mandibles around his mouth. He belonged to the Aurelian Empire, one of the oldest and most powerful groups in the Confederation. Once again, the humans waste our time with needless worry, Vextara said, his upper arms raised in frustration. His voice was deep and seemed to vibrate the water glass in front of Allison. They see danger where there is none. This so-called anomaly in the Cygnus sector is just a normal space event. Our science proved this already. Allison felt her cheeks grow hot. For weeks, the human team had gathered data about the strange energy readings from a distant part of space. Something wasn't right there. The readings didn't match any known space phenomenon, but no one would listen. She glanced at Dr. Peter Baldwin sitting beside her. Peter was in his 50s with gray at his temples and deep wrinkles around his eyes from years of looking through telescopes and at data screens. As the chief scientist for Earth, he had studied the anomaly more than anyone. Now his hands were clenched into fists on the table. "The data's clear," Peter whispered to her. "Why can't they see it?" On Allison's other side sat Admiral Kyle Morgan. Unlike the military leaders from other species who wore flashy uniforms covered in medals and symbols of battles won, Kyle's uniform was simple and dark blue. His face showed no emotion as Vextara continued to mock human caution. Kyle was known for his calm thinking even in the worst situations. The Krell warriors with their scaled skin and massive builds often laughed at Kyle's quiet manner, calling it weakness. Allison admired Kyle's control. She knew his history: 20 years in space, 4 major battles, and 3 first contact missions. He had earned his rank through smart decisions, not reckless bravery that the Confederation seemed to value so highly. "May I speak?" Kyle asked, his voice steady. The council head, a floating jellyfish-like creature named Pholum, waved a glowing tentacle. "Earth may respond." Kyle stood up slowly. Unlike many of the alien representatives who loved to shout and wave their limbs, he simply clasped his hands behind his back and spoke clearly. "The energy pattern we found in the Cygnus sector doesn't match anything in any of our records. It's growing. It's changing. We have tracked it for 3 months now, and each week, it gets stronger." He tapped a button on the table, and a hologram appeared above them. It showed a swirling mass of red and purple energy. "This was the anomaly when we first found it." He tapped again. "This is it now." The hologram changed to show the same swirl, but now twice as large with tendrils of energy reaching out like fingers. "We don't know what it is," Kyle continued. "And that's exactly why we should study it carefully, with proper safety measures." Ambassador Zalna stood up next. The Trisarian was covered in golden scales that caught the light as she moved. Her kind were famous for being the first to explore the most dangerous parts of the galaxy. "Safety measures?" she said with a laugh that sounded like bells ringing. "For a space cloud? This is why humans are the joke of the Confederation. You fear everything unknown." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The towering rock-like Granthi representatives rumbled their approval. The bird-like Avis clicked their beaks together in their version of laughter. Allison saw Captain Finn Ward of the Earthship Defender shift uncomfortably in his seat at the back of the room. Finn had been the first to spot the anomaly during a routine patrol. Now he watched as his discovery was dismissed as nothing. "We don't fear the unknown," Allison said, standing up though she wasn't called on. "We respect it. Space has taught humans that small problems can become big ones very quickly." The Pholum's tentacles waved in irritation. Commander Wright, you were not given permission to speak. Allison sat down, her face hot with anger and embarrassment. Admiral Morgan continued calmly. We propose a joint research mission with proper containment protocols. If the anomaly is harmless, as you believe, then our caution will have cost nothing but time. If it is dangerous... If, mocked Vextara. Humans always worry about if. This is why you advanced so slowly on your own planet, always afraid to take risks. Dr. Baldwin couldn't stay quiet any longer. Our data shows unusual quantum fluctuations, energy readings that change in patterns that suggest... Enough, the Folum interrupted. The Council has heard both sides. We will vote now on whether to approve the human request for a research mission with their proposed safety protocols. One by one, the representatives voted. The Krell warrior Grash Tak laughed openly as he voted no. The six-eyed Ventari scientist Baren gave Allison an apologetic look, but also voted no after a sharp glare from Vextara. The final count. 16 against, 1 for, Earth alone. The proposal is rejected, the Folum announced. The anomaly will be classified as a natural phenomenon requiring no special attention or resources. As the Council moved on to other business, Allison, Peter, and Kyle exchanged worried glances. They had the data, they had the evidence, but no one would listen. Meet me in my office, Kyle whispered to them. We need to make a new plan. As they left the council chamber, Allison noticed several other species watching them with amusement. The cowardly humans had been put in their place once again. But deep down, she felt a creeping fear that they had all just made a terrible mistake. 3 weeks passed since the council meeting. Late at night, Dr. Peter Baldwin sat alone in his lab at the Earth Embassy on Rigel Prime. The room was dark, except for the blue glow of holographic screens floating in the air. They showed charts, numbers and images of the strange space anomaly that no one else cared about. Peter's eyes burned from looking at screens for too long. He had barely slept in days. Empty coffee cups littered his desk. But he couldn't stop working. Something had changed about the anomaly, and it scared him. Computer, show me the comparison again, he said, his voice rough from tiredness. 2 images appeared side by side. The left one showed the anomaly from a month ago, a small swirl of strange energy in space. The right image showed it now. It had grown 3 times larger. Worse, it now had a pattern to its movement. Computer, run test model Delta 9 again. The computer showed a simulation of the anomaly's growth over time. Peter watched as the strange energy cloud expanded, reaching out toward nearby star systems. According to his calculations, it would reach populated planets in less than 2 weeks. The door to the lab slid open. Commander Allison Wright walked in carrying 2 steaming cups. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and dark circles showed under her eyes. Like Peter, she had been working overtime on this problem. You look terrible, she said, handing him a fresh cup of coffee. Thanks, Peter said, taking a sip. You're a real charmer. Allison smiled, but it faded quickly when she saw the screens. It's getting worse, isn't it? Peter nodded and pointed to the newest data. It's not just growing, it's changing. Look at these energy patterns. They shift every time we observe them, almost like... Like what? Allison asked. Like it's responding? To being watched, Peter said quietly. The Aurelians sent probes to study it yesterday. After that, the anomaly's growth rate doubled. Allison stared at the screens, her face pale in the blue light. We need to tell Admiral Morgan right now. On the other side of the embassy, Admiral Kyle Morgan was already awake. He stood in the secure communications room, talking to a large screen. On it was the face of Vice Admiral Olivia Ramirez. Olivia was in charge of protecting the human colonies in the Proxima system, one of the places in the anomaly's path if Peter's models were right. I've seen the data, Olivia said. Her dark eyes were serious, her mouth set in a grim line. My science team confirms it. We've detected energy echoes matching the anomaly's signature near 3 of our worlds already. Kyle ran a hand through his short gray hair. The Confederation forces aren't moving, they still think we're overreacting. Olivia's image flickered slightly. Then we act alone. Protocol Sentinel gives us the authority to protect human settlements without Confederation approval, if we believe there's a serious threat. Using Protocol Sentinel will damage our standing in the Confederation, Kyle pointed out. They already think we're paranoid. Better alive and embarrassed than proven right when we're all dead, Olivia replied. Kyle was quiet for a moment. He thought about the council meeting, about how the other species had laughed at human caution, but the data was clear. Something dangerous was coming. You're right, he said finally. Activate Protocol Sentinel. Begin evacuating all human settlements in the projected path. Move the 7th Fleet into position to help with evacuations and set up a defense line. What about Earth? Olivia asked. Will the home government support this? I'll convince them, Kyle said. Send all the data directly to the Earth Security Council. Make sure to include the new growth patterns. That should be scary enough to get their attention without causing a panic. Just then, the door opened, and Allison rushed in with Peter following. Behind her, Admiral, Allison started. The anomaly. I know, Kyle said. We're already taking action. Protocol Sentinel is being activated. Peter looked relieved. Thank God someone is finally taking this seriously. Lieutenant Daniel Cole stood on the observation deck of the Earth defense ship Horizon. Through the large windows he could see the small colony of New Hope on Proxima Centauri 4. The colony was only 10 years old, home to about 8,000 humans who had come to build a new life on this distant world. Now they were all leaving. All around him, ships were landing and taking off. Families carried what they could, clothes, important documents, a few precious items. Most would have to leave their homes and many belongings behind. The evacuation had to happen quickly. Lieutenant Cole? A voice called. Daniel turned to see Maria Reyes, the colony's leader, walking toward him. Her face showed worry but remained calm for the sake of her people. Mayor Reyes, Daniel greeted her. How is the evacuation going? We're at 40% complete, she said. But I'm getting questions I can't answer. People want to know why we're leaving when none of the alien colonies nearby are evacuating. They're asking if we know something others don't. Daniel looked out the window again. She was right. The nearby Ventari settlement showed no signs of preparation or worry. They were going about their normal day. We're following Earth Command's orders, Daniel said simply. The data suggests the anomaly poses a serious threat. A loud laugh made them both turn. A Krell merchant with scaly red skin stood nearby. Krell were big, strong aliens who loved taking risks and often mocked humans for being too careful. Running. Away again, humans? The Krell merchant said. Always seeing danger in shadows. My people have traded in this sector for centuries. There is no danger here. Daniel wanted to argue to show the Krell the data they had collected. But there wasn't time. Every minute spent talking was a minute not spent evacuating people. Your opinion is noted, Daniel said coldly. Then he turned back to Mayor Reyes. We need to speed up the evacuation. Admiral Morgan wants this colony empty in 12 hours. As they walked away, the Krell called after them, When nothing happens, remember how you humans ran like scared children. Daniel kept walking, but worry gnawed at him. What if the Krell was right? What if this was a false alarm? The human reputation in the galaxy would fall even lower. But then he remembered the briefing from Dr. Baldwin, the charts showing the anomaly's growth, the strange way it seemed to react to observation. No, he decided. Better to be safe than right. By nightfall, half the colony was empty. Families crowded onto transport ships heading to safer systems. Daniel worked tirelessly, helping the elderly, making sure children weren't separated from parents, keeping the evacuation orderly despite the growing fear. As the last light of the Proxima star faded, he looked up at the night sky. Somewhere, out there, something was coming. Something only humans seemed concerned about. Daniel hoped they were wrong, but deep down he feared they were right. And if they were right, being called cowards would be the least of their problems. 5 days after the human evacuations began, everything changed. Admiral Kyle Morgan stood on the bridge of the flagship Defender. a cup of cold coffee forgotten in his hand. The main screen showed a real-time feed from the edge of the Cygnus sector. His face was lit by the eerie purple glow coming from the display. "Play it again," he ordered, his voice quiet. The screen reset. It showed normal space, stars against the blackness. Then a flicker of light appeared, small at first like a distant star going supernova, but it didn't fade. Instead, it grew, swirling outward in tendrils of purple and white energy. Within minutes, it expanded to cover the entire view. Then came the part that made Kyle's stomach turn. The Trisarian colony world of Nephtal came into view, a beautiful blue-green planet with 2 moons. As they watched, the energy wave reached the planet. For a brief moment, the world seemed to shimmer as if caught in a heat mirage. Then it was gone. Not destroyed in a fiery explosion, just gone, along with its 17 million inhabitants. "No. Distress signals?" Kyle asked, though he already knew the answer. "None, sir," replied Communications Officer Lisa Chen. Her face was pale as she worked her console. "No transmissions of any kind. It's like they didn't even have time to realize what was happening." Kyle set down his coffee cup and straightened. His uniform. "Get me the Confederation Council emergency channel." The screen changed to show the council chamber. Unlike their usual orderly meetings, this was chaos. Representatives shouted over each other. Some appeared to be crying or whatever. Their species did when in extreme distress. The Pholum Council heads' tentacles were faded to a sickly gray instead of their usual vibrant glow. When they saw Kyle on their screen, the room gradually quieted. "Admiral Morgan," the Pholum acknowledged, voice trembling. "The anomaly has..." "I know," Kyle said. "We've been monitoring. Nephtal is gone." Ambassador Vexistara pushed to the front, his blue skin now pale and ashy. His mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. "This is impossible. All our models showed the anomaly was stable, a harmless quantum fluctuation." "Not in our models," Kyle replied calmly. "Which is why all human settlements in the projected path were evacuated 3 days ago." The silence that followed was heavy. Kyle could almost feel the shame and fear radiating from the council members who had mocked human caution just days earlier. "You knew," Ambassador Zalna whispered. Her golden scales had dulled to a flat yellow. "That's why you pulled out all your people." "We suspected," Kyle corrected, "based on our data models. The path of this thing will reach at least 12 major Confederation worlds within 26 hours, said the Ventari representative, Baren. His 6 eyes blinked rapidly in panic. "There is no time to evacuate billions of people." "We know," said Commander Allison Wright, stepping into view beside Kyle. Her face showed compassion but remained professional. "Which is why we've been developing another option." Kyle nodded to her and she continued. "Dr. Baldwin and our science team have been working on a theoretical defense, a network of quantum dampening fields that might slow or even divert the anomaly's path." The screen split to show Dr. Peter Baldwin in his lab, surrounded by complex equipment and floating holographic displays. "The technology is experimental," Peter admitted, pushing his glasses up on his nose. "But our simulations show an 87% chance of success if we deploy the network correctly at key gravitational points." He paused. "It's the best chance we have." "Why would you help us?" asked the Thalasian representative, their crystalline body reflecting confusion in multicolored light patterns. "We dismissed your warnings. We mocked your caution." Kyle's answer was simple. "Because that's what humans do. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." The council took only minutes to vote this time. Unanimous approval for the human plan. Every resource the Confederation had would be made available immediately. Lieutenant Daniel Cole stood on the bridge of his small ship, the Scout. Around him, a dozen other Earth ships formed a loose formation near the edge of the Rigel system. Their mission was critical. Deploy the experimental quantum dampeners at precisely calculated points in space. Each dampener was about the size of a small car, a sphere of gleaming metal with strange patterns etched into its surface. Inside was technology that Dr. Baldwin and his team had been developing in secret for months, ever since they first detected unusual readings from the anomaly. "Dampener deployment in 30 seconds, announced Ensign Mia Rodriguez from the navigation station. Her hands moved smoothly over the controls, keeping the ship perfectly positioned. Daniel looked out the viewport at the vast emptiness of space. Somewhere out there, the energy wave was coming, the same wave that had erased an entire world without warning. His hands felt sweaty on the command console. "You're nervous," said his second-in-command, Lieutenant Sam Perkins. "Don't blame you. Never thought we'd be the ones saving the Confederation's collective ass." Daniel gave a tight smile. "Let's not celebrate yet. This tech is untested." "True," Sam agreed. "But at least we've got a plan." The others just sat around arguing until it was too late. The comm system beeped. When Daniel answered, he was surprised to see the face of the Krell merchant who had mocked the human evacuation days earlier. "Lieutenant Cole," the Krell said, his usual booming voice subdued. "I am Krathtor, of the Krell Trading Guild. I wish to apologize." Daniel raised an eyebrow but said nothing. The Krell continued, clearly uncomfortable. "What I saw as cowardice was wisdom. My family lives on Rigel 3. They refused to leave, saying the humans were overreacting as usual." He paused, his scaled face showing an emotion Daniel couldn't quite read. "Now they are in danger and I cannot reach them to help. We're working to make sure everyone stays safe," Daniel said firmly. "I am in your debt," the Krell replied. "Many of us are." As the communication ended, Daniel turned back to his crew. "All right, people. Let's make this count. Deploy dampeners on my mark." Around the Rigel system, human ships moved into position. Similar scenes played out in 6 other star systems along the anomaly's projected path. For the first time since joining the Confederation, humans were leading a major operation, with ships from other species following their commands. The dampeners launched one by one, small silver dots against the blackness of space. Once in position, they activated, creating a web of faint blue energy connecting them. The network was invisible to the naked eye, but sensors showed it growing stronger as each new dampener came online. On Rigel Prime, Dr. Peter Baldwin watched the deployment from his lab. Beside him, alien scientists who had dismissed his theories days ago now listened intently as he explained how the dampening field would work. "The field creates a quantum barrier that should disrupt the anomaly's wave pattern," he explained, pointing to the simulation playing on a large screen. "Instead of continuing through populated space, it should be diverted into this empty region here." A Ventari scientist raised a delicate hand. "And if it doesn't work?" Peter took a deep breath. "Then we've at least bought time for additional evacuations." On ships and stations throughout Confederation space, people of all species watched and waited. The anomaly was now visible to long-range sensors, a massive wave of energy moving faster than should be possible. It had already consumed 2 uninhabited systems after Nefertal. The countdown had begun. The dampening network was humanity's best idea, their best chance to save trillions of lives. All they could do now was wait to see if their cowardly preparation would be enough to save the galaxy. Time seemed to slow down as everyone waited. The quantum dampening network was fully deployed just 2 hours before the anomaly was predicted to reach the populated worlds of the Rigel system. Now came the moment of truth. On the bridge of the flagship Defender, Admiral Kyle Morgan stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His face showed no emotion, but his knuckles were white from how tightly he gripped his own wrists. Around him, the bridge crew worked silently at their stations. The only sounds were the soft beeps of equipment and the low hum of the ship's engines. The main screen showed the approaching anomaly. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, a swirling cloud of purple and white energy that seemed to bend the light of stars as it moved. Sensors showed it was now twice the size it had been when it consumed Nefertal. "Time to intercept with dampening field?" Kyle asked. 3 minutes, sir," replied the tactical officer, her eyes never leaving her screen. Kyle tapped his comm. Link. "Dr. Baldwin, status report?" From his lab on Rigel Prime, Peter Baldwin's tired face appeared on a small screen. He hadn't slept in days, and it showed in his red eyes and messy hair, but there was determination in his expression. "The network is holding at 98% efficiency," Peter said. "We're making final adjustments to the resonance patterns now." He paused. "Admiral, I should warn you, the energy readings from the anomaly have changed again. It's adapting." Kyle frowned. "Meaning?" "Meaning it might respond to the dampening field in ways we didn't predict," Peter admitted. "We're adjusting as we go, but—" "Do your best, Doctor," Kyle said simply. "That's all any of us can do." The bridge fell silent again as the countdown continued. 2 minutes. 1 minute. 30 seconds. The anomaly reached the outer edge of the dampening field. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the energy wave paused as if it had hit an invisible wall. Ripples of blue light, the dampening field made visible by the anomaly's energy, spread outward from the point of contact. Everyone held their breath. Then the anomaly surged, pushing against the field. The blue light flickered. "Field integrity dropping," shouted the science officer. "Down to 87%. On the screen, they could see the dampening field bending inward. As the anomaly pushed against it, like a bubble being pressed by a finger, it stretched but didn't break. Yet. Kyle gripped the command console tightly. "Dr. Baldwin, I see it." Peter's voice was tense. "The anomaly is resonating with the field, creating feedback. We need to adjust the phase variance." Kyle looked around at his crew. "Make it happen." Across the fleet, human operators worked frantically, adjusting settings on the dampeners as Peter's team called out instructions. On the screen, the blue light of the field flickered dangerously. "Field integrity at 62% and falling," reported the science officer. "At this rate, collapse in 40 seconds. Kyle's mind raced. They needed something else, some way to strengthen the field. He made a quick decision. "Divert power from the ship's shields," he ordered. "Feed it into the nearest dampeners." His crew looked at him in surprise. Without shields, the defender would be vulnerable if the anomaly broke through. "Sir," his first officer began to protest. "Do it," Kyle said firmly. "If that thing gets through, shields won't matter anyway." As the defender's power was redirected, other ship captains followed Kyle's lead. One by one, the human ships diverted their shield power to strengthen the dampening field. The blue light steadied, then brightened. Field integrity stabilizing. At 70%, the science officer reported. Still critical but holding. On the main screen, they could see the anomaly churning against the field, sending out tendrils of energy that probed for weaknesses. Each time a tendril found a thin spot, the human operators adjusted the field to reinforce it. "It's almost like it's alive," whispered someone on the bridge. Kyle watched intently. "Dr. Baldwin, can you adjust the harmonics in Sector 7? There's a weakness forming." Peter's tired face nodded. "Already on it." Compensating for the resonance pattern, his fingers flew over his controls. "The key is to keep the field flexible. If we make it too rigid, the anomaly will eventually find a breaking point." Hours passed as the battle of energy against energy continued. The crew took shifts, but Kyle remained on the bridge, refusing to rest. Across the Rigel system and beyond, millions of people watched the distant glow of the confrontation, wondering if they would live to see another day. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the anomaly began to change direction. The dampening field was working like a massive deflector, channeling the energy away from populated space and toward an empty region between star systems. "It's working," said the tactical officer, disbelief in her voice. "The anomaly is changing course." For the first time in days, Kyle allowed himself a small smile. "Keep monitoring. Don't let up until it's completely clear of populated space." Another 12 hours passed as the anomaly gradually moved away, following the path of least resistance through the careful manipulations of the dampening field. When sensors finally confirmed it had been successfully diverted into uninhabited space, cheers erupted across the human fleet. On Rigel Prime, The alien representatives watched in amazement as the threat they had dismissed was neutralized by the very humans they had mocked. 3 weeks later, representatives from all 17 species gathered on Earth. It was the first time the Confederation Council had ever met on the human homeworld. The Grand Hall of the Earth Diplomatic Center was filled to capacity as Admiral. Kyle Morgan, Commander Allison Wright, and Dr. Peter Baldwin stood before the assembly. Ambassador Vexitara, his blue skin now returned to its normal color, stepped forward. In his forehands he carried a gleaming object, the Star of Valor, the Confederation's highest honor, never before given to a member of a species as young as humanity. "We mistook caution for cowardice," Vexitara said, his voice carrying through the silent hall. "We confused preparation for paranoia." He hesitated, then continued. "The human's so-called cowardice was actually the highest form of courage, the willingness to act when action is needed, regardless of ridicule or political cost." He presented the Star of Valor to Kyle, who accepted it with a small nod. Kyle didn't give a long speech, it wasn't his way. He simply said, "We did what any responsible species would do. We saw a threat and prepared for it. If that makes us cautious, then we accept that label with pride." In the months that followed, everything changed for humans in the Confederation. The same caution that had once made them targets of mockery now made them valued advisors. Human. Risk assessment experts were invited to every major world. Every ship, space station, and colony wanted human safety officers. Lieutenant Daniel Cole found himself promoted to commander and given a new assignment, teaching other species the human approach to threat assessment. His first class included officers from 12 different species, including a certain Krell merchant named Krath Tor, who had requested special permission to attend. "The universe is full of unknowns," Daniel told his class on their first day. "Some call it cowardice to prepare for the worst possibilities. We call it responsibility." As he looked out at the faces watching him, some with eyes, some with sensory organs he couldn't even name, he felt a sense of satisfaction. The humans had been vindicated in the most important way possible. Throughout Confederation space, a new saying began to spread among all species: "Brave like a human." It became the highest compliment one could receive, acknowledgement that true courage often looked like caution, and that sometimes only the cowardly were brave enough to take action when it mattered most. As for the anomaly, it continued its journey through uninhabited space, eventually dissipating into harmless energy. But the lessons it taught would last for generations. The Confederation had learned that sometimes the ones who worry the most are the ones who save everyone in the end.